Hello, my name is Mike. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Seeking Sister Wives Season 4, Episode 11. Sorry that I did not upload last week. There's something going on with the app I record with, and sorry that this video is extremely late. I kind of just figured it out, and this is also my second time recording this, so now it's just going to be extra late. But let's just get into the video. We start off with Danielle, Garrett, and Roberta, and it's the morning after they finally had their first day seeing each other again, and Roberta and Garrett woke up, and Garrett is trying to speak Portuguese to Roberta. And he's not too successful at it, but I'm pretty sure learning another language is very hard. I mean, it is, so I get it. But anyways, they're meeting Roberta's mom today to talk about Roberta coming to America permanently and living there with them. It's a difficult conversation because Roberta and her mom are all they really have, so it's kind of like losing the one person you can rely on. So I'm pretty sure it's very difficult for her. Go to an in-person confessional with Roberta, and Roberta says that her and Garrett were intimate, and yeah, they go a little bit more detail into it, but I don't want to talk about it just because it's kind of weird at this point to like always hear about their sex lives to an extent. So I just want to leave it alone and never hear about it again. Then we go to a confessional with Danielle, and she says the night was very lonely since she didn't have Garrett right by her, and of course he was with Roberta. And Danielle is still uneasy about the whole baby conversation because I don't know why, but I think she believes that Garrett and Roberta are gonna go behind her back and do it and like blame it on like God's timing or something like people love to do. I'm not saying it's not on God's timing, but there's a difference between you just making a decision without anyone's knowledge and then it actually being on God's timing, but that's a completely different conversation. But I do get why Danielle feels that way because I wouldn't put it past Garrett to do that. We go back to the scene, and Roberta and Danielle are laying in bed together talking, and Danielle is talking about how she doesn't like the distance between them regarding them living in different countries, and Danielle wants to go make sure that Roberta still plans on coming to the United States, which like they've confirmed this like 3 times over the past 2 episodes, so I'm not exactly sure why they feel the need to do this again. At this point, they're just hoping Roberta's actions fall through and she stays on what she says, which I get it, but then also it's like it's annoying to have to hear over and over again and them drag out these scenes, I guess. So I guess that's not necessarily Danielle and Garrett's fault, or so production and editing and all of that. But anyways, Roberta does says she's coming to Colorado, she's gonna book the ticket, and she's decided to get there, and they're hoping Roberta books the ticket and it'll be like opening a new chapter to their life and jumping over a very difficult hurdle. But in my humble opinion, I think it's just opening a whole new world of problems that they're not necessarily ready to deal with, especially Danielle and like her jealousy. I know she says she's gone over her jealousy, but it's gone over the jealousy of Garrett just having like a not even really relationship with Roberta over phone call, over text, over FaceTime, but it's a completely different thing when y'all have to live in the same house and each other all the time. So I definitely think her jealousy is definitely gonna become an issue, and even on Roberta's end if they still plan on bringing more people into the relationship. Before I move on, in the whole scene with Danielle and Roberta, for some reason they are very oddly close. Like, I don't know what that is, but even it was like this with Leah. Danielle was very like physically close to Leah, and I just find that super weird. Maybe that's just how she expresses her love and careness towards people, but it would be way too much for me. But good thing it's not me. Next, we move on to Sidian and Tasha, and it's Sidian's last day in the Philippines, and he has decided to propose to Ariel. He's going to take Ariel snorkeling, then after they finish snorkeling, take a shower, and get dressed, he's going to take her to the proposal site, and he is hoping that she says yes and it falls in his favor. And the resort that they're at has set up like a little proposal area, and we do see it in this scene, and it's honestly pretty cute for what it was. After they get done snorkeling and getting dressed, while Sidian is waiting on Ariel, he FaceTimes Tasha to talk about the proposal and how they're both very excited for it. She agreed and let them get engaged. Well, I mean, I guess it was a group decision if you want to call it that, but yeah, she decided that it would be the right thing even though they've only known each other in person for 4 days and it's really rushing it. Sidian and Tasha both feel like it's the right decision and they're both very happy about it. But honestly, I've definitely seen worse of like people getting engaged over the internet, not even knowing if this is a catfish or whatever. Like, at least they've met each other in person and like it's been at least 4 days. Still pretty bad, but it could definitely be worse in my opinion. But once he gets done FaceTime FaceTiming Tasha, Ariel finally comes out and he walks her down the little walk down or boardwalk or whatever you want to call it, proposal site, and doing all the things that men do or women do when they're getting ready to propose, saying, I love you and all of that. And we don't see the proposal in this scene, but we will see it later on. Next, move on to India, Taryn, and Marcus. Not a lot really happened in the scene other than Marcus meeting up with Janae at the little Airbnb that she's at. Talk about how the date went with India, Taryn, and all of that, and basically how she's still on the fence and she's still not sure if she wants to do this. I don't think she wants to do it. I honestly think she's just wanting to be on camera at this point because her mind is kind of already made up, at least in my opinion, because she keeps giving the same answer, like no matter what Marcus goes and does or how many dates they go on. So I don't know, I think she just wants to be on TV at this point. But let's move back around to Garrett, Danielle, and Roberta. They're getting in a van going on a tour of Roberta's life. They don't really know much about Roberta's early childhood because she really doesn't talk about it much, but they're now going to go on a tour and see where she's from and see where she grew up at. Roberta grew up in a very poor area of Brazil, and all the houses kind of look run down and not necessarily really livable for anybody. Garrett and Danielle kind of had one of those reality check moments when you kind of see someone else's life in their shoes and see it from their perspective. So I think they had one of those moments, especially because they say Roberta's always so positive and happy and in good spirits. There were a lot of drugs in the area that Roberta grew up in, but it was a lot safer and a lot quieter back then. But now not as much. Kids can even go outside and play without their parents watching them, or really just be outside in general, and they kind of have to stay inside. And it's just gotten worse over time, which this is super sad, but it's honestly the reality of a lot of people. Next, move on to the Davis family. They're going to go look at a house because they need a bigger house, since not only is Jennifer pregnant, but Danielle does plan on moving in. Well, they're going to ask her to move in and they want to have enough room for her. And once they get to the house, they start explaining to the realtor that they're a polygamous family. In the in-person confessional with the realtor talks about how he's never had an encounter with a polygamous family in all his 5 years of being a realtor, which I can believe that, but then also there are a lot of polygamous families that hide the fact that they're polygamous because it's looked down on in society and they don't necessarily want to be judged for what they are. Yeah, why people will hide it, but maybe he has encountered one and he just doesn't know it yet. Anyways, they go inside and look at the house, and I noticed there's this ugly dark green rail going up the stairs. Absolutely hate that rail. It just grossed me out, I guess you could say. Maybe that's not the right word, but it was hideous, and I'm very upset about whoever decided to paint it that color. Other than that, the house is pretty nice, and when they go upstairs to the master bedroom, April doesn't think it's big enough because they're gonna get a 12-foot bed. Before, April has said that I didn't even know 12-foot beds even existed, so I decided to go look one up, and I'll put a picture up for y'all so y'all can see it as well. And it looks like it could fit about 4 or 5 people, but I don't think that's still big enough for them because I think April is looking for something even bigger than 12 feet. That's just wild to think about, but they don't think that's gonna be enough room in the master bedroom for the 12-foot bed. They get off the conversation of people wanting to have their own rooms and their own space, and if Danielle would want her own space, which Nick plans on proposing to Danielle at some point in time, then asking her to move in so they can all be together, which mainly Jennifer and April are really pushing for this more than even Nick is. I don't know why, but if I had to take a guess, probably so they can share some of Nick's sex addiction. Some of the load could be taken off them because that's all it is at the end of the day. I mean, it's one thing to have a high sex drive, but it's a completely different thing to just feel the need to always have sex with different people at all times. Get up in the middle of the night randomly having sex in the middle of the night with your other wife. That seems like a sex addiction to me. But that is just my opinion, so take it or leave it. They ultimately decide that this isn't the house for them, and they're gonna go look at a couple of more houses to see if they have more room, more flexible for what they need. Let their search continue on, but next move back around to Ariel, Sidian, and Tasha. We finally get to see the proposal. Sidian gets down on one knee and asks Ariel to marry him, and she says yes. She's very happy, overwhelmed, and excited to see where their life is going forward. And she knows it's really fast, but she couldn't be happier about it. And of course, Sidian is really happy. he decided, they finally have her come to America and start the whole process with that. And they FaceTime Tasha, of course, to share the news about the proposal, and of course she's just as excited because she's gaining a new person in her life just as much as Gideon is. And they're all very happy, but something I continuously think about is how Ariel's gonna have to explain this to like her parents and like her family, which I'm pretty sure it's gonna be difficult to do, because imagine explaining to like your family, well, I'm engaged to a man I only saw in person 4 days ago, but I know him because he's my friend's husband and we're gonna be in a polygamous relationship and I'm moving to America. This is like a 90 Day Fiance and Catfish in one. Like, it's a crossover episode. I say catfish because some catfishes actually do turn out with a somewhat happy ending, and I guess it's a happy ending for catfish. In life in general, no, this is pretty suspicious. This is like something you would see on ABC News like at 6 o'clock and then like someone randomly got murdered. A random thought, but this is definitely how I see it. Not saying hope Ariel or anybody gets murdered, but I definitely see this playing to like one of those murder mystery things. But off track and a bit of a rant, but last we move on to the Merryfield family. Yesterday they meet Roberta's mom and sit down and have a talk and just go over some difficult things that they need to ask and get past and really just get to know each other better. Before like Roberta's mom comes in the door, she's like banging on the door like she's a police or something. That would absolutely freak the living hell out of me. Even if like I know I have a visitor coming, it's just so unexpected for people to bang the door so loud. But that's not the point. Let's actually get into the scene. Roberta's nervous about her mom meeting Garrett and Danielle because her mom can be very brutally honest and say how she feels. She doesn't know how that's going to work well with Danielle and Garrett. When they sit down and start talking, Garrett is already crying, and it's barely even been like 2 minutes to the conversation. I'm not against men showing their emotions or crying. I am all for it, but in that same sentence, her mom is literally just like saying, hey, and general conversation, you're already crying. Like, I cannot wrap my head around that. They finally do get into the tough questions. Roberta asks her mom how does she feel about her moving to the United States, and her mom says that's a tough one because it's basically losing her daughter. And also because she's a little nervous and she thinks it's way too fast. And her mom's also gonna miss her very much because, like I said, they are very close. She'll put her feelings aside for Roberta's happiness because she wants Roberta to be happy and go for what she wants to go for in life. And all Roberta's mom asks for out of Garrett and Danielle is that they treat her right and they give her the respect that she deserves and needs. Garrett and Danielle both start crying, saying they promised to do that. Danielle starts saying how she promised to be a good sister wife to Danielle. And the mom is just kind of staring at them, and I know it's because of the language barrier and them not speaking Portuguese, but she's kind of staring them like, you can't be for real right now. Papa's there, and I just found that funny. But anyways, Garrett is saying like, I love you, mom, which it really bothered my soul from the very top to the very bottom, just because I don't know why, but it's like when in-laws call their like in-laws mom, dad, and all of that, it's weird because that's not your mom and dad, and just gives a really weird vibes to me. I don't know, maybe I'm just making that up in my head, but I do find that very weird, especially coming from Garrett and Danielle, specifically Garrett, just because it's like y'all have only met her this one time, already calling her mom. Like, that's a little much for me personally, but they can do them. Maybe they're crying happy tears, I don't know, and I really don't have that much room to say because I am a really big crybaby in my opinion, so I can cry about a lot of things, but this just isn't something I don't think I would cry about. Like, I don't know, it's just really weird to me, or maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough. But anyways, off that crying thing and all of that, that was the end of the episode. Sorry if it was a little all over the place. I'm kind of like rushing to get this out a little bit, some content uploaded, but yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you want, and bye.